Hello and welcome to Uganda. It's good to see you. I'm here actually in January 2025. Enjoy this next 30 to an hour long form content, and we'll see you on the channel shortly. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name's Tim and I'm here in Uganda, Rukungiri, and we're looking at our maggots today. So we're currently going to be harvesting these any moment. And these black soldier fly maggots are fantastic for us because what they do is they allow us to feed our fish at a very much reduced price. So I'll explain what we're trying to do. There's a nice diagram here which I think always helps people to understand, but these maggots here are actually very good sources of protein. So we're going to feed those to our fish because we are mostly fish farmers and that's the business that we're in. We'll feed these maggots to them. The fish love it, they really enjoy them, and the fish grow quite quickly on them. It's just about as good as commercial, well, it's actually slightly better than commercial pellets we found in a pond-based system. And when we're feeding them these maggots, we're reducing our cost. And then the other exciting thing that happens is we actually get access to frass. So you can see here this black stuff. Now actually, it might look like leftovers, and that's exactly what it is. It's the leftover feed that the maggots have consumed. Once it's left over, you can use it as really fantastic fertilizer. So I'll show you that. We've actually got, we're currently still working through how we commodify this. So under here is just a whole load of, zoom out a bit for you, a whole load of frass, very, very potent fertilizer because it's full of nitrogen, phosphorus, all the essential minerals that you need for your plants because you're feeding them a bunch of different waste, and also a microbiome concoction of bacteria which does wonders to your soil health and to your plant health. So really we're next stage would be for us is to use this frass, which is all under here, and give farmers access to it. And you don't need a lot of it either. So that's part of the plan, but currently we are producing our frass. And so people sometimes, our maggots and our frass. People ask us, what do we feed these maggots? And you can see right here, this is the sort of stuff we feed them. It doesn't look very nice and it doesn't smell great, but actually that's chicken manure mixed in with a bit of maize. We have barrels out here which are in there, and they're full of substrate. So we've got banana peelings, we've got what else? We've got avocados, pineapple, anything from the local market. You can just about hear it. It's just over the road over there. You can hear the market. But that's a waste with the chicken manure. It's just going to sit there and do not very much. But we're feeding it to our maggots. They turn that into high quality protein for us. You can see them moving around. And then you also get fertilizer at the end. So yeah, it's good to be here. I'm going to show you the next stage as well. So once these black soldier fly, and you can see them emerging here, once they've finished, they actually start to crawl up here and they'll turn into pupa. So if I zoom down there, all those little black things, those are actually pre-pupa. And you can use those to turn into flies. So let's go and have a look at that, shall we? In fact, actually, before I go in, let me just show you the life cycle. So roughly your maggots, this is when you feed them to your animals, chickens, fish, even cows if you can process it. And then when they get to this point, the pupa eventually turn into flies. Then they'll lay some eggs. There's some eggs here. And then you start the cycle again. So this is what we use for that. So I'm inside the polytunnel now, and long-time viewers of the channel will see that we've changed it a bit. We found we actually had too much vegetation here, so we've got rid of the grass. Mubarak's trimmed that down. He's got rid of a couple of the trees that weren't doing as well and were causing the flies to lay elsewhere. And this is the next stage in the production. So first things first is you get your pre-pupa, and you can see they're in this bucket here, and this is them sort of pupated, as it were. So let me show you. There's not as many in here, so this looks like most of the flies have done their business, but you can see here, this is what you've got, and it's just a mixture of, this is all the husks that are remaining, they're really light and empty. Eventually, after a couple of weeks, they'll hatch out into these flies, And once they're flies, they are ready to mate. Now BSF don't do much else other than just emerge, maybe drink some water. So we keep water up there, you can see in that, where are you? I can't see, there's a bottle hanging down. And then that gives them water, and then they mate, and then they'll come along here and they'll lay their eggs very nicely and neatly for us inside this wooden contraption that we've got going on. So this is just, so in here underneath in this basin we've got some waste, and BSF are looking to lay eggs near some waste. In fact, you can see this one here is probably trying to lay eggs. They've got the other, not quite, but they're resting on the top, and they'll lay eggs for them where they think there's food, and that's what they're trying to do, is give their eggs the best chance of survival by putting them near a food source. So that's what we're mimicking, that sort of behaviour from the wild. Now once they've laid the eggs in those cases, in the wooden cases, we go to the next stage where we're going to hatch them out. So let me show you that. This is some eggs. They're quite old now, I can tell, because they're gone quite dark. But we put some eggs on here, and they'll hatch out, and then they'll come into this maze, and I can feel it's really warm underneath, which is a good sign. And they'll be moving around and wriggling around, and then growing into those maggots. And when they're like a couple of days old, we'll transfer them from here when they're small, put them straight into those bays, which are behind the polytunnel there. And that's the system that we're trying to go for. So you can see it's quite a nice, neat life cycle that you've got going on. The breeding, which is this part here, is actually quite a bit more challenging, I would say. You've got to make sure that your humidity is right, your temperature's right. You want about 35 degrees would be an optimum temperature, Celsius that is. I'm not sure what that's in Fahrenheit for you American viewers. Humidity, about 60 to 70% humidity, something like that. Obviously it'll fluctuate throughout the day, but this polytunnel really helps us with that because it gives us the warmth that we need. We're a bit cooler here. And that life cycle we really utilise, and so we get a lot of maggots. We've actually got so many maggots, let me show you. We've had to improvise and have these buckets here which are just full of maggots, just excess maggots that we'll feed to fish, and you can see here lots of them. But majorly this part here is for breeding, and that's a little bit trickier. But anyone can grow maggots, it's so easy to do, you can imagine. And it's a really good protein source for your fish, so for your chickens if you have them. So yeah, I'd encourage you to try BSF farming if you've got a small production system set up and you're trying to reduce your costs, or you want to use up waste. Really good system to use. You know, we've done a lot of trial and error on this, but we're always looking to connect and help people. So if you need some help, write us a comment and we'll see what we can do. Hello, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to look at breeding of black soldier fly. It's not an easy thing to do, and so I thought I'd spend a few moments just explaining to you how you get best value from this system. So my name's Tim, I work here in Uganda, Rukungiri, helping set up fish farm hubs all around East Africa. Do like and comment if you're interested in that. There's a form that you can fill in, and we're trying to build up a network of people that we can help and we can network with and we can communicate. So please do that, and we'd love to get your feedback. So let's talk through this cage. So this is called a love cage, and I'll give it a tap and you'll see them all move about, all the flies. Look at that, there's a lot of activity going on here. So this is a love cage, and we use this for breeding. And what we do, the first step in the process is to put your black soldier fly, the pupa, in here. Now you can see that these are all actually dormant. Most of these have hatched out already. It's very dry. It's yeah, they're light and not very heavy. But you want to put your larvae into a bucket like this. If they're moving, you need to be a bit careful because they can't actually climb out. So you want them at the pupa stage. So that's when they're dormant and they're not moving around. And then you put them into a container like this. We actually will often leave our pupa in here for a while because you can get late bloomers. Now we've put these fabrics up here as well. The reason we've got these here is it actually allows the flies somewhere else to land, and we can actually put water, we spray water onto this fabric. Because remember, the thing about your flies is, yes, they don't need to eat, they don't eat anything, but they do need to drink. So over here we've got some water in this container. It's very simple, just a bottle, little hole at the bottom, and it drips through, and it allows flies to have a drink. So they can have a drink, that's all they need. But you're also looking for sort of around 60% humidity. So when you put water on these cloth, there's bits of fabric, of course, that over time just evaporates and you create a humid condition. So that's some of the first things you want to do. The other point I would say is you want to look at your rodent control. So I'll just show you this. We've got here a small container, and inside that, I can hear them buzzing away. Inside that we've got some oil in all 4 legs. The reason we have that is that's to stop things like ants crawling up or any insects, so they can't touch this frame, and they're not going to bother the flies. So just watch out for your pests, anything like that. Then once you've set up the conditions, you've got to make sure it's got enough water, you've got protection from any pests and things like that. The next thing that you're going to be wanting to do is to set up a place for them to actually lay eggs. So I'll go back in here. Oh, you obviously want to zip this up as well. I've just left it unzipped so I can get my camera quickly in and out. In here we have got a number of smelly substrates. So chicken manure, cow dropping, mushy bananas, anything that really smells you want, because what the flies are trying to do is they want to mate. It's the first thing they do, and they normally mate after maybe on day 2 or 3 after they've emerged as flies. They want to mate, but they want to do it near a food source. So they're smelling around and they'll find this place and go, oh, there's some food here. Now you have to cover it, so we've just used some of this mesh. You can use whatever is going to stop the flies getting in, because otherwise they'll lay directly in the substrate, which you don't want, because you're trying to harvest your eggs in a controlled way. And then you get 2 bits of wood like this. Now in here we've just sellotaped them together, but can you see there's some eggs right there, and those eggs are freshly hatched. They're very pale in colour, and this fly actually is she laying eggs? I suspect she's trying. Can you see how I can't actually see through the mesh if that's the female or not? I think it might be. You can tell because they've got like an ovipositor, it's called. Oh yes, can you see it's wriggling around? Let's try and get it there. So she's actually got her proboscis in and she's trying to lay eggs. So that's very exciting. So we'll keep on her just to see if we can see the eggs laying. And then you get your eggs being collected here. And then at the end of every day, what I recommend you do is you come along, once they've stopped moving around, towards the end they don't move around as much, and then you can collect your eggs. You need to weigh them so you know how much you've got. So once you've collected your eggs and you've got your hatchlings, you start the whole process again. So I'll leave her. I don't think she's going to lay just now. I'll remove this, and just to say a big thanks to you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this comment. Do put some comments on your struggles that you're having with any egg laying, but hopefully that's helped you and to fix some of the challenges you might have. Hello and welcome to the channel. This video is going to be about BSF, what's next, the next stages of our journey. So here in Uganda, my name's Rukungiri, and as you see, long-time viewers will recognise this area, I think. But it looks very different. So this is our polytunnel setup currently, and this used to be full of matoke, banana, all that type of activity. There's Andrew there collecting some waste for our BSF. But it's got to the stage where we've got some improvements that we need to make, and we've very thankfully, big thanks to Gatsby Africa, who have seen the vision of what we're trying to do and really like this model, and have helped us so far with just some of the practicalities of how we measure impact and things like that. Really, really helpful. Thanks also to Alex and Think Aqua, who are helping us that specific thing of how do you capture impact. But one of the things they've also done is given us a bit of funding to help improve in our BSF. So I thought I would show you where we're at with that. So this is the sort of main improvement that we need to make. So currently in our bays, we've got, well, they're absolutely full of BSF, which is a problem. You can see here all the maggots. I mean, I shouldn't say it's a problem. It's a good problem to have, but it is in terms of capacity, because actually what happens is we've had to improvise and keep a whole load of maggots in our BSF hatchery. So this is the BSF hatchery, and over here we've got all these containers absolutely full of maggots, and this isn't even half of it. So we need a system where we can actually improve on that and not have so much wastage. Hello, the smart people amongst you will notice I've changed outfits. It's just because the mic died, so I'm redoing this shoot. So in terms of the BSF improvements, this is the main one, and this is this piece of ground that we've actually cleared here. You can see we've still got some drainage things that we could overcome. So currently the water drains down here, and then obviously down here as well. And actually, if we wanted to, we could sort out the drainage, cover that, and then we'd have a bit more space. But this is perfect for what we need. And this bit here, we're going to build another polytunnel, one of those. And that's purely because currently what we're finding is we have our maggots in that first wooden enclosure, and that's fine, and they do well, but we want to improve on their performance, and they actually do better in slightly warmer temperatures. Here at the equator, temperatures can be a bit lower. So what we're going to do is build a polytunnel so that the maggots that are in here can actually be at a warmer temperature, because it gets much warmer in the polytunnel, and for breeding, for flies, that's especially important. But for the maggots, it will help improve their performance. We'll get a better, faster growth rate. So these are the maggots at the moment. You can see they're in the bays. They haven't been moved around this morning. There's loads of them there. And then these bays here, we're going to store this stuff. So this is the frass. You can see it's this black gold, you could call it. I know that's oil, but anyway, no, it's really good stuff. It's fertilizer. And currently, we've got lots and lots of it. So we've got it here under cover. We keep it under cover because the sunlight denatures it has some reaction, I think, with the nitrogen, so you lose the potency, and we keep it covered so it doesn't get damaged by rain, etc. But this needs to be properly stored so we can actually sell it, because it's incredible fertilizer and we want to start using that for our farmers. So we're going to store that in these bays. Then the maggots, we'll build concrete bays in here. This is our sort of wonky polytunnel, our first one. So we'll put the bays in there, and then we'll build another one, an improved polytunnel here. And what goes on in here currently is a mixture of activities. We've got breeding, and we've got some hatchlings, and we've also got some overspill and larvae. So Andrew here is doing a lot of hard work, and this morning doing his daily rounds. But so you can see we've got excess maggots. So the bays that we want to build, we might build them in here. We'll have excess capacity then. And then this breeding part, the flies, will be done in that dedicated polytunnel, and we're going to make some improvements to this. So those are some of the big improvements that we're going to do. The polytunnel design is going to be different. I'll just get out of the way. Mubarak's just coming in. Let me get out of the way from him. Say hi, Mubarak. The other thing we're going to do is just get some more substrate collection area. So at the moment we've got these barrels, which is great, but we want more of them because we've got more substrate. We want to be a bit more organised. So we're going to be sorting those out. The hammer mill as well. We've got some very boring upgrades to the electrics that we need to do, so we'll do those. The great news about this is actually our friends Gatsby Africa, who have been very supportive of this project, and have really helped us with some of the ways that we look at this project, how we measure our metrics, that type of thing. Think Aqua and through Alex is helping us on that, and the RAD global team, they're helping us to measure our impact essentially. Like how are we performing, what's the impact having on farmers, and really helpful oversight from Gatsby Africa, and of course Think Aqua stepping in with the expertise. So anyway, but they've not only have they helped us with some of the strategy things that we need to be thinking about, but they've also put their hands into their pockets and they are going to fund this, which is just, we're just really overjoyed that we can make these changes, which are, you know, sorely needed really just to get where we want to be and be able to serve the local community. So thanks very much for watching as always, really appreciate your support. Hope you've enjoyed this video. It's really fun to see the changes over time because I don't come here, I come here every few months, so I get to see sort of rapid amount of change as soon as I land, which is fantastic. But yeah, hopefully we'll get to see another one of these in the next video. Thanks very much and see you on the next one. And you see the ripples in the water. This is because I'm standing here and these fish are hungry and they want feeding. So the question today is, how do you feed your fish in ponds? What are the best ways to do it? How do you stock them? What should you be feeding them? How often? Those types of things. And I want to try and help you with that. So stay on this video and you'll find out some of the ways that you can do that. My name's Tim and we're here in Uganda and I hope you enjoy this video. First thing to realise is you have a pond. This is the chosen method of farming. You're not in a cage, you're not using raceways or RAS or anything like that. You're using a pond. So what are the advantages of having this type of system? Firstly, let's maybe call it a green water system, and that really underlines what you should be doing. So if you look at the colour of this water, maybe it doesn't show up very much on the colour on this, but it's actually very green. Actually that one in the distance is much better because the fish are swimming freely. So it's green for a reason, because your fish will eat the algae and things like that that are growing in your pond. So you're basically trying to encourage plants to grow. And how do you encourage those plants to grow? Well, I'll show you here. So let's see some where's it gone? There's some goat dung. You could use, so you could add fertilizer to your ponds, so in the form of goat dung. You could add cow manure. There'll be some lying around here. And then you could use chicken manure, anything like that, even natural. Here goes some cow manure. You could use some of that, or some fertilizer, and you'll put that into your pond and you get much better green growth. Compare the two ponds, that one's not got any fish in it and this one does, so we add a bag of fertilizer, and there it is, look, water. So that is your main source of feed for your fish, and it's great because it's free. You don't, well, it could be free, but it's very low cost, and you get a huge benefit because you're growing the green, if you like, for your fish. And this is just to top it up. So it's just a bag of fertilizer, some holes in it. It's been staked down here to keep it from floating away, and that will naturally create like a nice green bloom on your ponds. So your fish will start with that. So that's the first point I really want to drive home to you if you're doing ponds. If you go down the pellet route, you're going to spend far too much money on pellets. It's not economical, at least not here in East Africa. So you're looking for, like, you can add some pellets, and we actually add pellets to ours, but we only do sort of a small amount, like 20%, just to boost their growth. And then the other 80% of what we're trying to feed them is black soldier fly maggots. These are highly nutritious maggots. They're up to about 40, 50, even 60% protein. We grow them on organic waste that we've got lying around, and then that produces a really fantastic feed for the fish. They really like it actually because it moves around. So you can imagine if you're feeding something, like you're a tilapia, you like something that wriggles and moves. Even chickens like it as well, over something that's just static, like it's a pellet. The taste as well, I mean, I don't know, not that I know the taste, but it could be a taste thing, the fish prefer it. All we know is when we put our BSF in, the fish go crazy and they show really good feeding response. So they really like the BSF, so it's good for your fish as well. So that's what we're trying to do here, and I would encourage you to do the same. Don't rely, there's a bit of a myth that goes round about feed loads of commercial pellets to your fish and ponds. I think it's a real mistake because your costs are going to be so high and when it comes to selling it, you're going to really struggle. And we actually did a trial in these two ponds, this one and this one, and we compared, what happens if you feed your fish 100% pellets, and what happens if you substitute. So you put 66% BSF and 33% pellets. I'll tell you what happened. The growth was broadly the same. If anything, the ones on BSF did slightly better. So actually, there isn't a negative impact on your growth rate. So you can take it from us. After we did the scientific trial, we had like 12 happers in here, controlled diets, and very good performance. So that's really how you're going to be feeding your fish. The other thing you could do, you can see them here, is there's some yams at the end here, just sticking up there. And a lot of farmers will grow yams around their ponds, and then you tie them together and you stick it into your water, and the yam leaves or sweet potato leaves, there's other leaves you can use, and that definitely helps the fish to grow. But really, protein is the thing that makes it really quick. So, you can adopt any of these strategies or all of them. You could just fertilize your pond, and you would get some growth. You could just use a bit of commercial pellet, and you would get some growth. You could use a bit of BSF and you get some growth. However you decide to do it, work out the cost implications, how much it's going to cost you over the long term, and go with that. But for green water system is the point I would really like to highlight, because I think that's the one that across the industry I see people just ignore, and they are constantly trying to do a cage method where you have to feed all of the feed to the fish through pellets, and they're trying to do the same in a pond. And I think you're missing the problem. The benefit of a cage is lots of water going through your cage, so you get very good oxygen levels. But the disadvantage is there's no natural feeding, whereas this natural feeding system is really what you're trying to achieve. And you can see you just get this wonderful water. It looks a bit brown, it's just a bit of runoff from the rain, but actually it's quite green, especially if you compare it to that other pond which has just been sat there. You'll see the big difference. And that gives you free growth, essentially. It doesn't cost you very much. So I hope that's really helped you on your journey as a fish farmer. Big thanks for watching and for your comments. I really appreciate them. We try to respond to all of them. Do comment below, like I said, where you are based and what type of fish farming you're doing, if you're doing it. I'd love to know. Hey, welcome to the channel. Do you want to know how to feed your fish with BSF? Well, why don't you comment in the description below if you're interested in that as a cheap source of protein for your fish. Here in this video we're going to show you how we do it here at Rukungiri out in Uganda, and I hope you find this useful. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe, do comment below if this is something you're interested in. Measuring your BSF to see how much you can feed them. Samuel's just taken these from the farm, so we're just going to have a look at them and see how many we've got. Bucket of maggots, that's what we like to see. These are good, so we're going to weigh them. So how many is that? That's 2.6. Okay, so that's enough for one meal. Yeah, very good.
1 meal for 1 bone.
How many kilograms do you want per day, Sam?
I always want 6, but 6 is what can.
Yeah. So we're not, you need to work out how many kilograms of BSF you need for your fish, what inclusion rate. So we're going for 80%. That works out currently with the fish we've got inside they are looking for about 6 kilograms per day. And you feed them in 2 lots. So this is about half of one feed. Sam's feeding the fish. That's about 2.6 kilos, and that's container is half a kilo, Sam? Half a kilo of feed. You can see the fish coming up. And yeah, so this is the main source of protein for them. So we're doing 80%. And Sam's trained the fish, so they actually arrive roughly here. So this is part of the pond. And you'll see that he's feeding them. This really reduces your costs if you can produce the BSF you need. And I'd say the breeding is much harder for BSF, but actually the growing is really quite straightforward. Anything that doesn't get eaten is just fertilising the pond, and you can just see like how intense they come up. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Nice to see.
1.5. Yes. But because now we go to less, I want to keep 1.5. Because the other one, around 3.5 the kilo of the larvae. So now since I have 2.6, now I'm going to put 2 kilograms. I'm going to put 1.5 the other side. Here I've put 500 grams. Then the rest I'm going to distribute it in the fish and the hopper, and also in the breeding side.
So we'll put some more over there where we've got our brood stock, because we're trying to make sure that they're fed as well, of course. So yeah, this is a good solution if you've got pond-based systems. I explained that in a previous video, so do go and have a look at that video. It will tell you some of the methods that you're trying to employ when you're feeding your fish. But for us, you start with fertilisation. You can see here we've got our bag of fertiliser. Bag of fertiliser just down there. And that's the main source for ponds. You want to do that. It's the cheapest way to get some growth consistently for your fish. And then you move to a bit of pellets potentially, but I prefer you to use this. Start with some BSF. Look at that growth and the feeding action. See them floating. They don't stay long at all, these pellets, the BSF. Because the fish are so hungry, they're looking for it. You can see here, look. They absolutely love these maggots. So we'll carry on feeding the fish. And when you're trying to feed, you need to feed at different rates. So when they're younger, you feed them much more frequently. But when they get to sort of, say 40 grams, we're aiming for twice a day. So 9 o'clock, the temperature's a bit warmer, the fish are woken up a bit more active, and then they rest. Then they rest of the time they'll be eating the greens in the water, and then towards the end of the day, around 5 p.m. before the sun sets, we'll feed some more. So yeah, you feed them twice. You need to give them time to digest the food and to absorb it into their stream. They also get used to it as well. So Samuel feeds from the same place. So he feeds from this bank, he feeds from that bank. You're checking the wind. If you're using pellets or even BSF, you can see that they're coming into the shore a little bit. You can see some of them floating. See if we can if we're lucky, we'll get one on camera eating. But you see them floating in the top. Most of them, of course, have gone far out, which is where you want, but eventually the wind will push them into the sides where it's harder for fish to get to them. So you get very little like this. And because I'm standing here and talking, they can hear me. So there's just one that's just taken it there. But here, because I'm a bit closer, they might not come. They're nervous that I'm a predator. Yeah, you can see them enjoying their dinner. The other thing you need to do when you're feeding is you watching the behaviour of the fish. And we just saw one jump. You don't actually. I don't know if you noticed the difference, but there was a much more intense feeding behaviour. So lots of them coming up, lots of excitement. Over time, that slows down, as a lot of them have eaten. They don't need to do it. So when you get that drop in fish behaviour, you need to be not feeding essentially, and the reason is it's just going to get wasted, and wasted feed is expensive. So I always say to farmers, you do your calculations, work out roughly what you should be feeding them, but that's a guide, not a rule. So you want to get close to that, but you need to watch your fish, make sure that they are eating the feed, because the feed's expensive, and the more you use, the more expensive your business is going to be, and it's just wasted. It causes water quality problems as well, to be honest, because it doesn't get eaten. So it's not just chuck and go. You need to calculate and then watch out. So here's feeding into these are some of the brood stock F2s, so a second generation. We're growing up. We want 800 individuals, so we're just growing those up to size. The good thing about the happer is the feed that's in there will actually get eaten, because it's not going to sink through. So that's us feeding the BSF. Last little point, the size of your fish is important. Fish have got to be able to swallow them. So 40 grams is what we would recommend. Fish can start to swallow the BSF, they're big enough to swallow one. Actually, Sam was saying you can actually get even down to 20, but it'd be a bit hit and miss. So yeah, it's pretty good, because the sooner you can get them on BSF, the better. As the fish show a bit of movement still, they can still do a bit more feed. Yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do comment below if you think BSF is something that you'd like to try, and you can get in touch with us. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video. How do you extend your ponds if you're trying to increase your production? We're going to answer that type of question in this video. Do like and subscribe to the channel. My name's Tim, we're here in Rukungiri, Uganda, and I'm going to be talking you through pond development and construction. Once you set up your fish farm, what's the next stage? So do like and comment. Maybe you could tell us, what sort of business are you involved in? Are you looking to expand? How are the challenges as you see it? I'm always interested to hear and to feedback. So do comment, and that would be great to see that. So here with Ahmed, it's the end of the day. This is going to be the end of our trip, I think. Got another video potentially in the pipework for you, but you can see there's a lot of mud, and I'll just give you the orientation. So we're actually on the PS's farm, so he's quite an important person, and he models agriculture in the district. He's got some fantastic innovations up there. So this is a small pond that he built himself, which is quite impressive in the sense that it's not an easy thing to do to build a pond, and we've actually stocked it with rad fingerlings, which I love. So in this pond we've got about 500 fingerlings, and then there's another pond over there where he puts some there's some catfish. You might be able to just see it in the distance. But there are improvements you can make as any business as you expand, and this is one of them. So Pauson over here taking a selfie. He's looking to help this group of labourers to, they're just cooking their dinner because it's getting late in the day, to expand the pond. So we're sort of midway through. So first thing you need to do, you need to sort of prepare your ground. You can see here, this is actually a stand of eucalyptus. And we've got some more eucalyptus remaining here. So this is, you need to get rid of your trees. Eucalyptus is one we're very happy to get rid of when we're building ponds, because it's not great for the natural environment, because in this wetland area, or this damp area, normally they plant them and they actually dry up the region. So a wetland, this isn't necessarily a wetland, but a wetland turns into dry land, and quite destructive. So get rid of your trees. So you can see the eucalyptus here being chopped down. They're not native to this country. Put your line, so you can see the line that comes along, and you sort of start digging your banks. So what they're doing here, and believe me, this is really hard work. I've done some of this before. And you basically dig up your embankments into piles, and then you have to shovel it from, so there's a pile there, that pile's going to have to be shoveled on top. You can see there's another pile there, that's going to have to be shoveled on top. And this gentleman, he's coming along and he's just spreading it out and getting it nice and level. And then when you get to a certain height, you need to start putting sacks in. And what you'll do is you'll fill up get some second-hand sacks. In this case, they're using a mixture of animal feed sacks, but there's one over there, so which Ahmed's standing on. You can just see it. That's actually a fish feed bag. Excuse me, Pauson, let me just squeeze. Oh, I'm making him run. I feel bad. Thank you. You okay? Anyway, well, that was funny. Yeah, so see the men piling it up here. So they're going to get some sacks over there, and they'll fill them with some of this loose soil and compact it. Hey, and then they will stabilise the banks. You can see at the moment they've just opened this up here to drain any water that was coming in. And then here's the pipe. So this is where you're going to control your water flow. So you decide where you want your inlet to be, and then you put that in the inlet, and also at the outlet. So you want your inlet at the highest point where your water is. So it'll be around here, I think, where this. So it comes down, and it was actually flowing down. And you can see they've blocked it. And then you want your outlet at the opposite corner and at the lowest point. Now the reason you want to have the opposite corner if you can is because you're trying to mix the water as much as possible. So when water comes in, it's got to travel the greatest distance, and as it does so, it mixes the water, and the stuff that's going out is the lower quality water. And there is a way to do it actually. So you put pipes, you have to use a few more pipes, but then you can actually suck the water from the bottom of the pond, which is the one that's not fertilized, it's full of sediment, and is not as good quality, less oxygen. That's the water you want out your pond, and the stuff in the greener stuff, which is full of oxygen as well, you want that. So yeah, so pond management in terms of water control and your pipes is an important thing. And it takes a skilled thing, so Pauson knows what he's doing. He'll come and educate these gentlemen. So, and then once they've cleared it, they put the sacks, they'll put some tarpaulin at the lower part of the bank. And then you sort of wait for the water to fill. So yeah, that's generally how you're doing your ponds. It's not that complex, it's just to do it well is difficult, and it takes a great deal of skill. It might not look like much, but just knowing sort of the lay of the land, is the water going to be held back, that type of thing, that takes a lot of skill. And Pauson's a dab hand in that, he's got a lot of experience. So he's able to oversee and manage what looks like digging a hole and putting dirt in certain places. But you know, when you're practicing, often we find farmers have made a valiant attempt, because I love the protection from the birds and things, but there's some things that you can improve on, and that's essentially what we're doing here, because this pond doesn't have all the features of this new pond in terms of water control and siting and sloping of the bank, protection of the edges, that type of stuff. And then in this pond that I showed you a moment ago, this is the catfish pond. So there's lots of catfish in here. I've seen them before being fed, and there's quite a lot, and they're quite impressive. So this is, I like seeing this an expansion project for us as RAD. I'm very excited that we've got RAD fingerlings in here, and the PS is very interested in innovation and showcasing the best of what agriculture has to offer. And we, in a sense, are very much aligned to that. So it's good to be on a farm, which is, of course, the income is important, but that isn't necessarily the main priority here. It's more about demonstrating what's able to be achieved in a capacity. So yeah, good to see that, and good to see you supporting this video. So if you've got this far, not everybody gets to the end. There's a rare, it's what's like 10% of you. Do like, subscribe, and comment. I just thought it'd be nice to finish with some fish being fed, because that's what this is about. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one. Just finishing off by feeding the fish. I'd like to see this. Tilapia from RAD, nice and big and ready to eat. I think the PS will probably just eat them when he fancies, gets harvesting, but yeah, they're doing pretty well. Good work, Pauson. Very nice. And then the catfish, lastly. Back at the hatchery today, and you can see Pauson's in the distance. He's just marking the boundary for us. So that's that point, and then the other points here, and then everything to the left of that is the new hatchery. I'm here with Ahmed. Say hi, Ahmed. My name's Tim. We're out here in Uganda, Rukungiri, and we're just looking at a new hatchery site. We've got a few problems, so let me just talk you through those. To overcome the challenges we're having, we've got Pauson, who's helping us out with the neighbour's ponds. So we've got this pond where Ahmed's standing over there. There's one in front of him and one behind him, which have also been drained. And we're going to use these for now as our site, because what we've found is we've basically got issues with, it's just going to take us forever to dig the ponds that we need. So meanwhile, the neighbour who owns these 3 ponds has agreed a very good rate. And on these to rent them, like really cheap, because for him he can't do anything with them, but we can use them. So whilst we're waiting for those hatchery ponds to be constructed, we can rent these, start what we need to do because we're backlogged, and start the process. So that's the sort of first challenge we need to overcome, is making sure we've got access to ponds. So we've managed to solve that one thanks to Pauson. You can see we've drained them, but they're not really that well constructed. If you look at the banks, there's no sacks, which is what you would do. The inlet, there's no inlet, it's just draining in. And then more importantly, there's no outlet. So the way that they've drained this pond is just by cutting the bank. And as you cut the bank, there is a pipe there, but it doesn't work. As you cut the bank, all the water flows down, but it doesn't really help us because you can't control what you need. And then the water gets drained through this gap and joins up down here, which is the stream. And then as I walk past down it, and you'll see the other two ponds. So these are going to be, eventually we'll use this to stock a different strain of tilapia, genetic strain that is. The reason for that is you don't want to have a lot of inbreeding, so we'll have a different strain here, and we can mix that in, keep the genetic health of our fish strong. And then this is one of the other ponds, and there's another one over there. So that's how the first challenge we've got is just time. We can't meet the demand for fingerlings in the district. People are pressing us, they're like, where are our fish? And obviously you want to keep your relationship going with your farmers. And then also just a cost thing as well. If we do it this way, we've got 3 ponds for practically nothing. They're not fantastic ponds, but we can use them. And then we can carry on. We can construct our own ponds at our leisure. We can budget accordingly and expand accordingly. So we've got 3 less ponds we need to start with, in a sense. So the plan is to grow, I think it's 8 ponds at the moment. We've got our plan that we've got a plan already, but we're just going to revisit it, make sure it's all up to date. So yeah, so that's the first challenge we've had, is just the demand, which is a good problem to have, but satisfying that. And then I'll show you why we're expanding when we go and have a look at our own site. And you can see the challenge right now. It's just capacity. So you can just about see 3 ponds there. We've got our breeding pond. So we put all the males and females in there. And then you store your males and females in those 2 ponds in the foreground. And that's just not enough capacity, basically. That's the issue. So when I was grabbing my coffee. When we are trying to sort out our fingerlings, you need to rest your males and females once they've bred, give them a month to rest and recuperate, but know where to put them. And then more importantly, where are we going to put our fingerlings? So the solution that we've got at the moment, which isn't perfect, is that we're actually using our production ponds, which I walk around, as a way of storing our fingerlings so we can breed them. So when they're in these happers over here, you can see them in the pond. So see the blue little cages, blue nets in the system, in the pond. That's where we're storing our fish at the moment. And it's not really ideal because that pond should be used for growing fish. Forced to use ponds like this, which are supposed to be for production. You're supposed to have fish in here that you're going to sell to the market. So we've got fingerlings in there. We've got about 500 in there for about a gram. 2 grams, and then we've got 500 in here of 10 grams, so we can sell these for a higher price. The farmer gets a better product because the fish are less likely to die because they've got reached a good weight. They've saved on time as well, and then we sell these, and then in the rest we've got we set them up so we've got breeding males and females. These are actually empty, so it shows you the problem we're having because we just can't meet the market demand for fingerlings. So we're working on that at the moment. So yeah, and you don't really, this is designed for production, yet we're having to resort to using it for fingerlings. And in these other ponds as well, we haven't stocked our own ponds because we don't have enough capacity at the moment. So yeah, that's the challenges that we've got with the hatchery. I was just going to show you where the males and females are, and we'll finish the video. And to finish with, the last and biggest problem we have is we just don't have enough, the F1 generation at the right size. So we've got 120 females in here at the moment breeding and 30 odd males, because the ratio is about 3 to 1, males to females. Sorry, females to males is 3 to 1. So more females, less males, and then we've got any extra ones in here. But actually, some of the females are here probably too small. They can reproduce, but you get very few eggs from them, and we need to give them a chance to grow a bit bigger. But we were struggling with BSF and feed and all sorts of stuff. So I was just talking to some. This is a real problem for us because it's reducing how many fingerlings we can get out of the farm. So we're going to focus on essentially breeding the bigger ones, bigger females that is, and then leaving the smaller females, just leaving for a few, like 3 months, just to get the weight that they need. Because the challenge you've got is when you're breeding, normally what you do is you put your males and females in here for a month. They're separated, so females and males. And after a month, when you fed them well, you put them in here to breed for about 3-4 weeks. The challenge is, during that month where they're resting, they're not actually growing, they're not putting weight on, they're using the energy from the food to produce eggs. And then the eggs are very expensive and energy consuming activity. So then you put them back and they haven't had a chance to grow. They're just producing eggs. So let's rest them up, get them a bit bigger, I think. And then we will be in a position where the fish that we have are big enough to produce lots of eggs, because the funny thing about fish is they just keep growing, they never stop growing, and the bigger they are, the more eggs they produce. So your older fish will produce a lot more eggs, they're bigger, but you need to rest them, make sure they've got the right weight to begin with. And then, I talked about the number of ponds, but we're fixing that one. So yeah, that's the problems, the teething problems that we're having as a business, trying to sort out our hatchery. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. That bus is exciting to me right now, because actually we are waiting for a bus like that to arrive from Kampala, because it's got a radical box on it. You might ask, what is the radical box? Well, let me tell you, it's a very exciting project that we're working on, and we're trying to make sure that when we're moving fish around, it doesn't spoil, doesn't go bad, and it can be easily transported on something like this, our 3-wheeler. So my name's Tim, I work here at RAD here in Rukungiri, Uganda, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Today we're going to be talking about transport, specifically how do you move things on that matatu, see how overloaded it is, but on these bodders, how do you move cold, things that need to be cold because they're going to go off really quickly, how do you move them around the country when it's very expensive to buy fridges and freezers, to buy ice. How do you do that? And that's the solution that we've developed here at RAD. Hi, my name's Tim. I'm here in Rukungiri, Uganda, and I hope you like the radical project that I'm about to tell you about. So you can see all the transport that's moving up and down this road. We've got our 3-wheeler just here. And all of these methods of transport, of course, like any part of the world, you're moving your products around and you're going to sell them. And here in Uganda, a lot of people move small quantities of fish, but they don't do it in a cold chain. So there's no ice, there's nothing to help. So this guy's trying to pick me up for a lift. So how do you do it? Well, I'm actually waiting on the road because I'm waiting for a bus, specifically a bus from Kampala, because we've just loaded up our prototype radical box, which is going to help us to move fish around. And it's a smart solution. We've been working with our partners at Aston University. I think Aqua is involved in this project. We've got Stulatrop, who's manufacturing it in country, and it's all funded by the Energy Saving Trust in the UK. And they are helping us as we develop this smart solution. So what it is, it's like a box, and you can rapidly put some PCM panels in, so you stick them in the freezer. Then when you put the panels into that box, you can move your fish product around, in our case fish, but it could be other things, and it should reduce the temperature of the fish right down, and give you a lot longer to sell fish, and that's what we're trying to do. I wanted to show you the IoT box that we've got set up. So it's a bit dark at the moment, apologies, but I think you've seen this before in action. I've shown it to you, but it's essentially a powered box. It's a power bank, and you've got a thermometer, antenna here. This thing here is magnetic. And what it allows us to do is to record this temperature, this little dongle thing here, and then here we have our probe. So that will measure the temperature of the fish on my, well, you can't see it, but my phone, and it sends me a signal through the antenna, and then we can record the temperature of the fish. And the reason this is important is, as we're testing this new box, we want to see what's the outside temperature, and then what's happening inside the temperature, and how long is the fish being subjected to temperature change. You know, is it going to stay fresh? What we would love is if we put fish that we harvest at 25 degrees plus, put it into the cold box with the PCM panels, and the fish temperature drops right down, so it's staying fresh or close to, I mean, this fish is obviously frozen, but it's below temperature, and then it stays that way for maybe 24 hours, maybe 48. So the bus, everyone's standing around looking at me. The bus is on its way. It's dark at the moment, so it's going to arrive late in the morning. The actual box is on the bus, and then this is the IoT bit that's going to measure the temperature for us. So very exciting. We've just got it all working, and I will show you what the app looks like in a moment. It's the middle of the night, and Pauson and I are just waiting outside next to the bar for the bus to arrive, which has got the Radical box. So in a minute now we'll see the headlights coming, and we'll go and collect it. There we go. So our bus has just arrived. It's exciting for us. We've been waiting a long time for this because it's actually delayed quite a bit in the arrival of it from Kampala. There was some issues loading it, and anyway, we are very pleased that it's finally here. So there was fish in it. It stayed way longer than intended, so we'll have to have a look and see how it's performing. There we go, it's here. So the box has arrived, and we are just going to open it and see what's going on. We're opening the box at the moment, and we're going to stick in the IoT thermometer just to see if we can get a reading on it, just to see how it's performed. So we've just opened the box, and unfortunately the fish has gone off, and it's not cold. There's quite a smell, but basically it's because this box took almost 2.5 days to get here, and I don't think the PCMs were actually frozen, so it hasn't been able to do its job. But you can see how we've improved. We've got the new lid on it, we've got the rubber gasket, and it'll be packed like this, and you'll put your fish in. So yeah, it's an exciting project. We are very pleased that we've got this finally in place. We're going to test it in the next few days with the IoT box, just to check temperatures as we move things around and see how we're doing. So, and that's a big goodbye from me. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate if you've made it to the end and watched everything. You get a special outro from me. Big supporters here, so thank you very much. Do comment if you've made it this far. Always appreciate your extra support for comment. Very grateful for this trip. It's been great. We've done a lot. Got the Radical project, that was the main thing. Brought Ahmed with us, and saw the progress of the polytunnel, the BSF, and the expansion for the hatchery. So some good projects going on there. I'm delighted to see what's happening. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next trip, which will be in March.